Hello, everyone, and welcome to Environmental Sciences 101. My name is Wes Swenson, and I'm excited to be here with all of you. I'm thrilled to begin the semester with all of you. I've taught a variety of different courses, including microbiology, genetics, and so on, but this is probably the funnest science course of them all. I'm sure there's going to be a few bumps along the road as I navigate this course with you. This is the first time that I've taught environmental sciences as an 8-week course in the summer. But please reach out to me if you spot any issues or errors. Overall, though, I think we're going to cover a lot of really interesting topics. First of all, that's me in the middle. I'm the overly ecstatic student researcher looking at algal food pyramids in Arctic Alaska, holding a jellyfish there. And most of my research was actually centered on bioproduct and biofuel research, where I would grow up what are called cyanobacteria. They're basically, you can think of them as very small algae. They're photosynthetic organisms, so they can take CO2 from the air and turn it into several products. So I would genetically engineer these in order to make valuable, industrially relevant products. I've always been passionate about science education, cats, and as well as being a father. And I have two beautiful daughters shown here on the right. I also have an assortment of other members in my family besides cats, rabbits, dogs, a goat, chickens. So I have a pretty full house where I live. Okay, so after I've introduced myself, let's go ahead and jump into the fundamental question of what this course covers. So, what is environmental science? Environmental science is the study of the interactions between living and non-living components in the environment. It examines the processes, cycles, and patterns that occur in nature. And this involves both what we call the biotic or living component and abiotic elements or non-living components of the environment. This field is dynamic because our understanding of these processes is continually evolving, leading to constant advancements in the discipline. And moreover, environmental science is interdisciplinary. So it integrates aspects from various fields such as biology, chemistry, geology, climatology, and much more. It not only examines living and non living entities separately, but also focuses on their interactions. A very important aspect of environmental science is the impact humans have on the environment, a topic that will be explored in depth throughout this course. Now, you can just call me Wes. There's no need to call me Dr. Swenson. And here's my email if you'd like to email me. However, policy is to work through the Blackboard inbox system. So you should generally be contacting me through Blackboard. Do not email me. I'm likely to miss it if it's an email. So unless Blackboard is down, you should always contact me through Blackboard. This is a 4 credit hour course. It's delivered online. It is asynchronous. That means you work on your own time. You don't have to show up at a specific time to watch a lecture. You can watch the lectures whenever you want. However, there are due dates. And if you miss the due dates for assignments, you may not be allowed to take them for an exam, as an example, or you will have a point deduction. We'll cover that more later on in this video. I do hold office hours. They're virtual. So in other words, you can meet with me through Blackboard Collaborate, and I'll just show you how to navigate to that in a moment. I have office hours available Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday by appointment. And that time that I have available, you can find a slot between 9 o'clock a.m. And then I wrap up at 11:30 a.m. If you want to schedule a 30-minute session, all you need to do is click on the link shown here in the syllabus. It's also on Blackboard under the Start Here module. You click that link. It'll take you to a separate web page where you can choose what time you want to meet with me. The crux of it, though, is you have to schedule 24 hours in advance or that day closes. So if it's Monday and you want to schedule for Tuesday, those slots that are past the 24-hour mark might expire. So you might have to schedule for Wednesday instead. In order to schedule, you would just go to Blackboard, log into your course. Here is the very first module. It's called Start Here. And you will note I have a direct link. So not just in the syllabus, but you can go here and click on this virtual office hours additional help. You just click there, the title, it'll take you to the scheduler. And then once you're on the scheduler, you just pick a time that you like. It may ask what's the topic of the conversation. That'll help us move along a little bit more smoothly when we do meet. And then you'll just show up for the session virtually. The way you will navigate to this is you go back to your homepage and then you just click on that class, collaborate, join session link. Again, this course is primarily offered online. Students can access lectures, materials, and assignments through Blackboard. Although the course is online, there are still due dates for assignments. This ensures students stay on track and complete their coursework in a timely manner. One unique aspect of this course is that exams must be taken through ProctorU. This provides a more secure testing environment and controls the integrity of the exams. And here you'll need to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of the course material. This is obviously going to be the hardest part of the course because you can't rely on outside information. So as we'll see, you'll have an exam window of a certain number of days that you can take. And if there's something a student cannot do, if this is something you can't do, then this course may not be right for you. Additionally, the course includes a field trip and a field soil collection. These are different opportunities for two different assignments. It's a great opportunity for students to get out of the virtual classroom and engage in a hands-on learning experience. These field trips are self-directed. You'll do them on your own to a place of your choosing, as long as you're meeting certain criteria. And it'll allow you to apply what you're learning to real-world settings, which makes the course both engaging and practical. Blackboard is our learning management system called the LMS, where you can access course materials, assignments, and grades. Your CAC student email is your official email address for communication, where you'll get alerts for messages and announcements found on Blackboard. So I might message you through Blackboard and you'll get a notification through your student email. So again, it's policy that all of our communications occur through Blackboard. This keeps the communications cleaner and more contained within the classroom. Additionally, I get a ton of emails every day from colleagues, administration, publishers trying to sell me products, and I might overlook your email if you send me an email instead. However, I check my Blackboard messages each day, and if a message comes in, I know it is a student that I need to get back to. We will be using Microsoft Office, such as Word for and worksheets and reports, and for presentations like a PowerPoint. These are all the cloud version of Microsoft is freely available to you through CAC, so I expect every student to be able to use it. Do not send me a file that you have to have Apple services in order to open. I won't open it. I will assign you a 0. Additionally, if you're going to submit an assignment as from the cloud instead of uploading it into Blackboard, if you just have a link to cloud, you have to give me permission to view that document. Giving me the link without permission means, again, you'll get a 0 because you have to demonstrate that you submitted the assignment. If I can't open it, if I don't have permission or access, then I can't tell if you did the assignment or not. SoftChalk is an e-learning authoring tool. It contains our textbook for this course. It will be the location of the textbook and reading questions that will be due each week embedded in the textbook. And we'll have more on SoftChalk later. And lastly, students will need a form of a webcam in order to come to virtual office hours and take the exams, which are proctored through ProctorU. Finally, um, you will need to provide some lab materials. These are pretty basic things. They're typically something you just have at home anyway, or they're commonly found in stores. And this really comes down to our Winogradsky column lab, which we're going to start right away this first week. The Winogradsky column lab is going to require you to have some cups to measure with, and it's going to require you to have some bottles to which become the columns for the experiment. Basically, 1 liter disposable water bottles is what you're going to need. And lastly, then you're going to need transportation, both for acquiring the lab materials for the Winogradsky lab, including a soil sample that you'll use in that Winogradsky lab, and then a field trip, which you'll do a field trip report on. Here's the breakdown of points. You'll have a variety of different places that you'll get points from. To start off this week, you'll have an introduction discussion board. You'll take a syllabus quiz and a questionnaire. You'll have a field trip. You'll have 3 exams throughout the semester. There's 12 chapters, so about 4 chapters per exam unit. There are 12 lab activities. These soft chalk questions, these are the questions that are embedded in your textbook. So there's 12 chapters, there's 12 of those. And then you'll have 12 weekly assignments. And over the next few slides, we're going to take a look at how this will appear. So the syllabus has 2 sets of schedules, one for the lecture, one for the lab. This one here is part of the lecture schedule. And the table design has 1 column designating the week. As you can see, since this is an 8-week course, you're doubling up on the amount of work. So week 1, there's 2 rows associated. Week 2, there's 2 rows associated with it, so on and so forth. And the next column will tell you the topic and what assignments are due on the following column. And the last column tells you the due date. Now, this first week is a little bit chaotic as we're hitting the ground running. You have to make sure you get caught up on all of the syllabus material, introduce yourself, so you can see the assignments listed there for week 1. That's going to be due on May 29th, which is going to be this Thursday. Then I give a little bit of an extension there. I give 1 day extra to do the rest of the material. So your chapter 2 material has to be done. So it says chapter 2 guided reading. That means you're going to open up the textbook and you're going to answer the embedded questions in the textbook for chapter 2. And you will be doing your first weekly assignment. This is a ecological footprint discussion board. And then you need to set up your ProctorU. I'll navigate over to Blackboard later on, and you can see where all of these different assignments are. So just keep that in mind. We've got a lot coming up here for both May 29th and May 30th. And you can see for each unit, it's going to tell you when the exam is due. So this exam you have to take it between June 12th and the 15th. So you have a period of time there to take it. So some students will come to me and they'll say, well, I got something going on the 15th. Well, that's why the 12th and the 13th and the 14th are there. So you have many days and many opportunities to schedule these exams and take them. In the lecture, it will tell you which chapters they cover. So I get a lot of emails. Hey, what chapters are going to be on this exam? Well, check the syllabus. The chapters are going to be chapters 1 through chapter 4 for exam 1. Okay, so let's take a look at, and then also you need to request where you want to go on your field trip by June 10th. It's not going to pop up. You're not going to get an alert because it's not an official assignment. But what you need to do is send me a message on Blackboard saying, hey, I'd like to go to this museum, or I'd like to go to the wastewater facility treatment plant in my area, or I would like to go to a national park, or I want to go to this wilderness area. Whatever it might be, just let me know where you want to go and I'll give you the approval. So reach out to me before the end of June 10th so that I can tell you if that sounds like a good place to go or not. And then finally, the exam one on week 3. Okay, so here is what our lab schedule looks like, at least the first 4 weeks here. And this little snippet is I brought up here to show you that there's a lot going on the lab side as well. So for week 1, I have just 2 assignments for you to do here for the lab. One is you need to watch the Winogradski setup video. There's a link on Blackboard and it starts on minute 22 for that video. It's just to show you what supplies you need to go get and how to set up the column. In addition, you need to go collect your soil sample and the column supplies. So again, the supplies and everything that you need to do is going to be in that setup video. There's also going to be the protocol listed under week 1. So go ahead and thumb through the protocol in case you have any further questions or more specifics that aren't listed in the setup video. So you don't have to set up the columns, but I do need you to go get the supplies ahead of time because that takes a bit of work. Now, the following week, week 2, this is going to be broken down into June 3rd and June 5th assignments. You're going to have a pre-lab worksheet for the Winogradski column experiment, and then you're going to have to set up your column as well and provide an image of your Winogradski column setup. Details are in Blackboard. And by Thursday, June 5th, you will then do a worksheet, a setup worksheet that you'll answer some questions about Winogradski columns. So as you might notice here, June 3rd and June 5th, this is a Tuesday, this is a Thursday. And this is a repeating pattern. So you will have assignments due on a Tuesday and then more assignments due on the Thursday, as if this was a class where we met every Tuesday and every Thursday. And just like the Winogradski column, which is spread over several weeks, you will have other assignments that are spread over several weeks as well, or 2 weeks usually. Usually there's a data collection part of a lab and then a worksheet where you answer questions. So we can see this food audit. There will be data collection that you will take that's due on June 12th. And then your worksheet is going to be due the following week on June 17th. The same with this water audit lab. Data collection part 1 is due on June 17th. And then your worksheet for that lab part 2 is going to be due on the Thursday of week 4. Again, there are 3 exams. The format of these, they are going to include a variety of multiple choice, matching questions, open-ended short essay questions. You're given 60 minutes to complete each exam in a single sitting. For an exam, there's going to be, less than 60 questions. So you'll have at least a minute per question. These exams, they're closed note and closed book. They're going to be taken on Blackboard using ProctorU. ProctorU requires the installation of something called Guardian Browser. So you're going to have to set up an account with ProctorU and install this browser on your computer. And I have all the instructions necessary for doing this provided on Blackboard. And I'll show you where that is when we navigate it. Now, and the pricing may have changed this semester, but last time I checked, exams were $6 each. There's 3 exams in the semester, so you're looking at about $18 total for the exams. Since it's $18 total, if you can't afford that, I can make a special exemption for you to take it at the testing center in person. You have to take it in person if you want to do it at one of CAC's testing centers. Let me know ahead of time. Appointments with ProctorU are available around the clock. But you have to schedule it with them for 72 hours in advance, or there will be additional fees. Again, if you want to take it at CC on campus testing centers, I require 1 to 2 weeks notice in order for me to get it set up with them. So make sure you reach out to me in advance every week that you want to take it at the testing center. And a late advance notice is considered the same as being late for the exam. Depending on circumstances, you will either get a 0 for the exam, or you will have penalty points taken off for having a late notice. Again, you have a 4-day window to complete that exam, and the exams are not cumulative. They're only going to cover the previous unit. So we saw with exam 1 that covered chapters 1 through 4. When you go to take exam 2, you wouldn't expect anything on chapters 1 through 4 to be on it. All right, for the lab assignments, there's 12 of them. They're worth 20 points each. As discussed, some portion will be done at home or in the field. Here's the Winogradsky column lab, which is your first of the semester. Some materials are going to be required to be provided by you, by the student. So if that's something you're not comfortable with, that's fine. Maybe this class doesn't suit your specific needs as a student. All right, so now we're going to discuss the textbook in a little bit more detail. To do that, I'm going to hop over to Blackboard and give you a quick little rundown of the website and get you orientated with it. All right, so here we are at our Blackboard homepage. And as you can see here, this very first module is called Start Here. It'll have this welcome and orientation video that hopefully all of you are watching or have watched anyway. And we can see below you're going to have your syllabus and schedule that you can download and review whenever you want. Now, here are those step-by-step instructions for setting up ProctorU. And this will give you a breakdown of exactly what you need to do. I have 5 steps here, including a quiz that you need to take and turn in by the end of the week, by Friday, May 30th. And we discussed earlier, here's the link right here for when you're ready to schedule, meet with me, join session. If you click over here, click this button right here, it'll take you to the scheduler for you to schedule at least 24 hours in advance for a day for us to meet. And then at that time and date, you will click join session and we'll meet on Blackboard. Now, to our textbook now, which was what I wanted to get to. For every chapter, I have a study guide, and this is just a list of topics, subjects, concepts that you should be able to answer or go seek out. And you will find in every week, this is week 1, you're going to see chapters listed here. So this is chapter 2, which is based on matter, energy, and life. When you click there, and again, it'll show the due date. When you click there, it'll take you to the textbook. Here's chapter 2. Now, every textbook chapter is made up of several pages. And each page, there are lots of videos, but the lecture video is always at the very top, and you always need to watch them. So here you would click to watch the first page's lecture video. And here we can see you'll have a great little description of the content as well for you to read through. And then here is 0 of 1. This is your first activity. So these are the embedded questions. You'll go ahead and it looks like you'll be doing some matching here. And then you can click next to move on to page 2. Again, here is the lecture video at the very top. There are many other videos shown here. These are additional learning things that you can use, but they are not required. The only video that's required is the very top lecture video. All of the rest are additional resources for you, and we can see our second activity. Now you'll get to the end of the text of the chapter. You need to just make sure you hit submit so that it records your final score. All right, and that would allow you to finish chapter 2. Now, sometimes these assignments are actually folders. You can see a little folder there. So if we click here, it's going to show you week 1. You're going to watch this video I told you about earlier. It starts at uh, um, minute 22 here. It will describe how to set up your Winograsky column, and here's the lab protocol for you to do as well. And then under week 2, it's going to have more information about week 2. In addition to those embedded guided readings, you'll have weekly activities. Again, there's 12 of them for a total of 120 points. These can be discussion boards as well as chapter assessment quizzes. The quizzes are open book, so they're different than the exams in that regard. Now, the field trip. There's one field trip. It's worth 40 points. Students will get to choose where they want to travel. They'll travel to a location that's related to environmental sciences, and then they'll write up a short report that's due at the end of the semester about their particular location they went to. While this is an online course, there is attendance that is taken, and students that do not participate for 2 consecutive weeks will receive a failing grade for the course. And just a note about this, some students, instead of completing these assignments, then just to stay in the course, they just go through and guess through the questions really quick. I can tell just they don't get a single one right. If you just guess through or submit a empty document, that's going to count as an absence there, because I want you to be present mentally, not just clicking boxes and throwing in assignments. I do accept late assignments in the course. However, they do come with a 10% deduction for every day they're late. So for example, if you have a weekly activity, it's due on Tuesday, 11:59, you submit it the following morning, that would be considered a 10% deduction. Academic integrity is something I take very seriously in this course. All written assignments, including exams, which you shouldn't be able to use any outside sources anyway for, they will be screened for plagiarism software. CSE provides a proprietary AI subscription plan to professors so that we can use them to screen for using AI. AI is considered plagiarism. Anything that is not written in your own words, coming from you, is plagiarism. So do not Google or web search or use AI to answer your questions. Use your textbook and the lecture materials and then write them in your own words. The first infraction is just a 0 score on that particular assignment, but a second infraction leads to a failure due to academic dishonesty. So what is writing in your own words? Well, I have an example here. You're welcome to pause and read through these, but there is a question of what is an environmental science? And a student goes on the web, just looks up a definition of it. You can see it here. And the student basically takes that answer, steals that answer, and writes it down to try and evade plagiarism software. They change the order of the list slightly, okay? And they maybe change some of the nouns into pronouns. So environmental science gets changed to it. And maybe they use a couple different synonyms. And this is not writing in your own words. And if I do catch that, it will be marked as plagiarism. However, in this example, a student actually went to the textbook, looked up the definition, and did their best to kind of put together their own definition. You can see this is very distinct from Britannica.com's definition. If you have special circumstances and you need accommodations, be sure that you get registered with the school ASAP. We cannot provide academic accommodations retrospectively. So if you need extra time for exams or something like that, I can't go back and have you retake prior exams. So you need to alert me as soon as possible, and you need to have it registered through the school. I cannot provide accessibility accommodations unless it comes from the college. A few tips here for being successful. Make sure you don't fall behind. This is a very fast paced course, especially in the summertime, 8 weeks. It goes by really quickly. Check your Blackboard and CAC email regularly. Check it daily. Stay on top of your weekly assignments. If you get if you keep being late and you get 10% off for being a day late or 20% off for being 2 days late, there's no reason you should be knocking down your final grade by a whole letter just because you're habitually late. And make sure you're reaching out to me often and regularly and engage with me during office hours and communicate with me. I don't know how many times I have students that just write on an assignment, I didn't understand this. You didn't explain it well. Well, that's not going to get you points for that question. You need to bring it to my attention so that we can try and figure out a better way to describe it for you. Now, tips for improving learning. I would recommend a few things. One is become an active learner. So ask lots of questions to me, and that'll help you solidify the information and make sure you're not just passively listening to the lectures and just, hurriedly getting through the work. And I recommend pausing the lecture video after you learn some content and ask yourself some trivia questions and see if you understand those trivia questions and you can respond back to yourself. It's a great way to assess how you're learning. If you do not build in a method of assessment for learning, you don't know if you're actually learning the material, do you? I also recommend making daily studying habits, not weekly studying habits. Every day, especially for an 8-week course, you should be studying for this class with very few exceptions, and avoid distractions while you do so. I strongly recommend making 3x5 note cards because you're going to have to memorize material and you need a way of condensing the pieces of the information that you need to memorize that are specific vocabulary words or numbers, things like that, and quizzing yourself, again, assessing yourself. So if you use a 3x5 note card, you can write down a terminology or a definition. On the other side, you have the answer, and you can test yourself over and over again every day throughout the entire week. Now, let's go through our first week to-do list. You need to watch the welcome and orientation video, go over the syllabus and schedule, and set up your Proctor U, and schedule office hours if you have any other questions. We discussed this beforehand, but there's a series of steps in that Proctor U folder that will go over just exactly what you need to do to set up for the exam. If you don't set up your Proctor U and take the setup quiz before an exam, or you don't do this until the last minute, that's on you. You're either not going to be allowed to take the exam or you'll see deductions. So that's why we get this done the very first week. Under our week 1 learning module, you need to then take your syllabus quiz. In addition, you're going to you're going to fill out a contract, and it's going to have a questionnaire where you're going to answer some questions about yourself so I can get to know your particular situation a little bit better. Then we have a discussion board where you just introduce yourself generally to all the students there and why you're taking the course, so on and so forth. Now you'll do your read your Chapter 2 textbook, watching the lecture videos at the top of every page, and doing the embedded questions in the soft shock textbook. And then for our first weekly assignment activity, you will do a discussion board again. On the lab side of things, there isn't a actual submission that you do. So in the calendar, you won't get any alerts or notices, but you should know that, as we discussed earlier in this presentation, by May 30th, you should have watched the Winnegraska Supply Collection and Setup video, and you should have reviewed the soil texture lab protocol. All right, now that is all that I have for you. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about the course. I want to just say one more thing, and that is, this is an environmental sciences course. It's not an activism course. What I want you to do if you want to get a good grade in this course, is not try and think of what I want you to say or take a particular side on an issue, but be able to understand all sides of an issue and present them in a logical manner. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the course. I hope you learn a lot of stuff and you enjoy it. Again, reach out to me if you need anything or if I can help in any way throughout this semester. Good luck to you all.